You know that incredibly frustrating feeling when you finally sit down at the end of a long, chaotic day and you are just completely and utterly
Oh,
exhausted.
the absolute worst.
Right. Your brain feels like absolute mush. And yet, if someone asked you what you actually accomplished, you'd have like almost nothing to show for it.
Yeah, you've been moving at 100 miles an hour since you woke up.
Exactly. But your most important projects haven't advanced a single inch.
It is, it's the ultimate modern paradox,
Yeah.
honestly. You are completely drained from doing literally everything, but you're left with this sinking suspicion that you actually achieved nothing of substance.
Yes.
You're confusing motion with progress.
That distinction right there is exactly what we are carrying into today. We're pulling from a surprisingly profound narrative featured on the Easy English podcast, and it's titled How to Manage Your Time.
It's a really great piece.
It is. The story follows a character named Ryan, who is, well, he's going to act as a mirror for a lot of us today in this deep dive. Because successful people, the ones who actually move the needle on their goals, they don't somehow magically possess more hours in the day than you do.
Right, they don't have a time machine.
No, they don't. They simply organize their cognitive load differently. So, listening to this right now, I want you to think about your own day yesterday.
Hmm.
Did you end it feeling totally exhausted, yet somehow feeling like you got nothing important done?
I mean, if the answer is yes, Ryan's situation is going to sound painfully familiar to you.
Oh, totally.
Because Ryan represents the baseline of how most professionals operate today. He is hardworking, and he has these ambitious, genuinely good goals.
Yeah, he wants to improve his English, he wants to exercise regularly.
All right, read more books and just spend some quality, uninterrupted time with his family. But his overarching desire, like above all of that, is just to feel less stressed.
Which is so relatable. But his reality, though, is basically a masterclass in self-sabotage.
Yeah, it really is.
The story describes his day-to-day existence as rushed, chaotic, and just ending every single night in disappointment. And the root of this entire disaster begins the absolute second he opens his eyes.
The morning routine.
Yes.
That's-
Let's look at his morning spiral. So, the alarm rings. Before he even stretches or processes that he is awake, he reaches for his phone.
Of course.
He checks messages. Then he opens social media. Then the news. Then a few videos. And the source points out how time completely dilates in this state.
Yeah, the total time warp.
Exactly. 5 minutes becomes 15, 15 becomes 30. Almost an hour just vanishes before his feet even touch the floor.
Well, we have to look at the mechanism of what is actually happening in Ryan's brain during that hour, because it's not just a loss of time. It's a hijacking of his cognitive state.
Right.
When you grab your phone first thing in the morning, you are instantly flooding your brain with dopamine.
Yeah.
You're conditioning your mind right out of the gate to expect highly stimulating, rapidly changing inputs.
You're setting the baseline too high?
Exactly. You are telling your brain today is about reacting to external emergencies.
Okay, let's unpack this because it's worse than just stepping onto a treadmill that is already running at top speed.
Yeah.
It's like booting up a computer and immediately forcing it to launch 50 massive applications before the operating system has even fully loaded.
That is a perfect way to put it.
Right. You haven't centered yourself, you haven't established what you want to do today, and suddenly you are just reacting.
And that biological priming sets the tone for the rest of his entire day. Because once Ryan finally gets moving, he is already operating from a deficit.
He's behind before he starts.
Right. He is behind schedule, so he rushes breakfast, he rushes his commute, and then when he arrives at the office, the chaos just amplifies.
Oh, the office is the worst for this.
His email inbox is overflowing, Slack notifications are firing off, and he just starts frantically jumping from task to task.
Just putting out fires.
Yeah, he opens a project, stops to answer an email, runs to a meeting, checks his phone again under the table.
I really want to unpack the physical toll of that specific behavior. Because why does jumping from task to task all day leave us feeling completely physically exhausted? I mean, even if we've just been sitting in a chair while our most important work just sits there unfinished.
What's fascinating here is that it comes down to the massive neurological difference between the illusion of being busy and the reality of being productive.
All right.
When Ryan jumps between an email, a project, and a phone notification, he thinks he's multitasking. But the human brain cannot actually process multiple complex cognitive tasks simultaneously.
It's a myth.
It's a total myth. What he is actually doing is rapid serial tasking. He's constantly switching contexts.
And there's a heavy tax on that context switching.
Oh, an incredibly heavy tax. Every time you shift your attention from, say, a spreadsheet to a text message, your prefrontal cortex has to completely disengage from the rules of the spreadsheet.
Wow.
Then it has to load the context of the text message, process it, disengage again, and reload the spreadsheet.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. That mental loading and unloading burns an immense amount of glucose. It's literally draining your brain's energy reserves.
So you feel exhausted because you are working incredibly hard just to switch gears.
Exactly. But you aren't applying sustained force to move any single project forward.
You're just spinning the tires and burning gas. Which, brings us to the major turning point in Ryan's story.
Yeah.
He arrives at work looking completely frazzled, and his coworker, Sophia, sees this and asks him a question that just cuts right through the noise.
Such a good moment.
It really is. She asks, do you manage your time, or does your time manage you?
It's a brilliant framing because it forces accountability. It shifts the listener completely away from the victim mindset.
Right, because we love to play the victim with time.
We do. When we say, I didn't have time, what we are really saying is, I allowed other things to dictate how my time was spent. Sophia's question reframes the problem entirely.
It's not about the clock.
No, the issue isn't the volume of time Ryan has. It's his complete lack of sovereignty over it.
Acknowledging that your schedule is dragging you around is the necessary first step for sure. But Sophia actually provides the tactical roadmap to take the steering wheel back.
She does.
She gives Ryan 3 incredibly simple rules. And honestly, they sound so basic at first glance, but the implementation is where the friction lies.
Always is.
Right. Rule number 1, plan tomorrow, today. Before bed, write down the 3 most important tasks for the next day. Just 3.
Just 3.
Rule number 2, do important work first. No morning distractions. And rule number 3, focus on one task at a time.
So let's look at how Ryan applies this. He writes down his 3 specific priorities. Practice English for 20 minutes, complete an important work project, and take a 30-minute walk.
That's it.
That's his entire required criteria for a successful day.
Yeah.
But the source material highlights something critical the next morning.
Oh, the discomfort.
Yeah. When Ryan tries to execute rule number 2 when he leaves his phone in another room to do his important work, he experiences profound physical discomfort.
I think anyone listening who has tried, a digital detox knows exactly what that discomfort feels like.
Oh, absolutely.
Your brain is practically screaming at you to just quickly check your email. Just one little peek.
Because it is literally a form of withdrawal.
Yeah.
Remember how we talked about conditioning the brain for constant dopamine hits?
Yeah.
When Ryan suddenly removes the smartphone and forces his brain to engage with one static, difficult task, the brain protests. It craves the novelty it's used to.
Because work is hard and the phone is easy.
Exactly. The phone seems infinitely more appealing than the work because the phone offers a frictionless reward. Pushing past that initial spike of anxiety, that feeling that you are missing something urgent, is the absolute hardest part of the process.
I do want to push back on rule number 3 a bit, though.
Okay, let's hear it.
Focusing on one task at a time. I mean, I understand the neuroscience of context switching, sure, but let's be real about the modern workplace. If you ignore your boss's emails for 2 hours because you are single tasking on a project, you might not have a job to come back to. Isn't multitasking, or at least, hyper-responsiveness, practically a required survival skill now?
It's the most common defense of multitasking, but it's based on a flawed premise of what actual productivity looks like.
Okay.
Yes, certain jobs require monitoring, but the story pushes back by showing what happens when you actually commit to deep work.
Right, Ryan's results.
When Ryan finally ignores his phone and pushes through that initial discomfort, he enters a flow state. The result is that he finishes more work before lunch than he normally finishes all day.
Wait, really? So the output actually justifies the temporary unresponsiveness.
Precisely. The core insight from his experience is that focus creates speed.
Focus creates speed. I love that.
When you aren't constantly interrupting yourself, you eliminate that cognitive switching tax we discussed. You process information faster, you make fewer errors that need fixing later, and you complete the task in a fraction of the time.
So the speed makes up for the radio silence.
Yes. The anxiety of not checking your messages is easily offset by the sheer volume of high-quality work you produce.
Focus creates speed. If there's one phrase for you to write down today, it's that. But let's look at the long-term reality of this.
Okay.
Pushing through that dopamine withdrawal takes a massive amount of willpower. And willpower is not an infinite resource, right? It depletes throughout the day.
Oh, absolutely. It crashes.
So how does Ryan, or really anyone listening, keep this behavior going day after day without burning out, especially when motivation naturally fades?
That's the exact problem Ryan runs into, and it leads him to the bookstore where he discovers how to systemize his behavior.
The books.
Yeah, he picks up two foundational books that a lot of our listeners are probably familiar with, but Ryan's application of them is what's fascinating. The first is Atomic Habits by James Clear.
A classic.
The premise is that monumental results don't come from sudden Herculean efforts. They come from microscopic, consistent changes in behavior.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because what's so revealing in the narrative is Ryan's realization that he had basically been waiting for the perfect motivation his entire life.
Yeah.
Relying on sudden bursts of motivation to tackle your goals is like sitting in your driveway, refusing to leave for work until you can somehow verify that every single traffic light in your city is perfectly green at the exact same time.
That is such a great analogy.
Right. It's a biological impossibility. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions are fleeting. You have to build systems that function even when you feel completely unmotivated.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, look at how Ryan brilliantly applies this to his English studies.
Yes, tell us about that.
Instead of declaring, I'm going to study for 2 hours every single day, which is an intense, high-friction goal that he'll inevitably abandon the first time he gets tired.
Which we've all done.
Oh, we all do it. But instead, he uses a book called English Vocabulary in Use, and he commits to learning just 5 new words a morning.
Just 5 words. I mean, it sounds almost laughably small.
It's designed to be small. By lowering the barrier to entry, he bypasses the brain's natural resistance to hard work.
Clever.
5 words takes barely any willpower. But the math behind consistency is ruthless. 5 words a day is over 1,800 words in a year.
Wow.
That is fluency-level vocabulary expansion achieved entirely through tiny daily systems that never once felt overwhelming.
So he builds the infrastructure so he doesn't have to rely on the emotion.
Exactly. And he reinforces this system with a concept from the second book he finds, which is Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy.
Ah, yes. The idea that if you have to eat a live frog, you should do it first thing in the morning, so nothing worse can happen to you the rest of the day.
Exactly.
Meaning, do your hardest, most important task before anything else. It's a classic concept, but it directly addresses that willpower depletion you mentioned earlier.
It perfectly aligns with the biology of decision fatigue,
How so?
where your executive function is sharpest after a full night's sleep. By eating the frog immediately, Ryan ensures that his most critical priority gets his best cognitive energy.
That makes sense.
If he waits until 4 p.m. to do his most important work, his willpower battery is empty, and the task gets pushed to tomorrow. By doing it first, no matter how chaotic the afternoon gets, the day is already a victory.
Okay, so the frog is eaten early. The 3 big priorities are locked in and handled.
Yep.
But what happens to the rest of the day? Because let's face it, even if you nail your morning routine, distractions are waiting for you in the margins. How do we handle the inevitable spaces between tasks?
This is where Ryan's strategy evolves into optimizing his micro-moments. He realizes that a system only works if you protect the boundaries around it.
Right.
When he is working, he doesn't just promise himself he won't look at his phone, he actually silences the notifications.
A hard boundary.
Yes. When he is reading, he physically removes the phone and puts it in another room. He alters his environment so he doesn't have to constantly use willpower to resist temptation.
And once he creates those boundaries, he starts discovering all this hidden time.
It's amazing how much is there.
He starts utilizing small 10-minute blocks that used to just, vanish into mindless social media scrolling.
The doom scroll.
The doom scroll, exactly. During his coffee breaks, instead of reaching for the phone, he reads a few pages of a book called Short Stories in English for Beginners.
Nice.
And to his surprise, just doing that in 10-minute increments, he actually finishes the book. He also starts listening to the effortless English audio program during his commute.
Turning dead time into a live time.
Right. He takes dead travel time and converts it into active learning time, improving his pronunciation without adding a single extra hour to his schedule.
He is effectively reclaiming the lost minutes of his day.
He is, but I have a major question about the reality of living like this.
No.
Think about your own commute today. If we are constantly filling our commutes with audio courses and filling every 10-minute coffee break with microlearning, doesn't that just lead to a completely different, highly optimized kind of burnout?
That's a fair point.
are we just turning ourselves to productivity machines? When does Ryan or anyone get to just relax and stare at a wall?
That is a crucial distinction to make, and the source narrative provides a really important clarification here.
Okay.
The goal of reclaiming these micro moments isn't to create a toxic culture where you are working 24/7.
Thank goodness.
Right. The goal is intentionality. Because Ryan is utilizing his time with absolute purpose because focus creates speed. The work tasks that used to take him 2 exhausting hours of context switching now only take him 1 hour of deep work.
Oh, I see. He is shrinking the footprint of his obligations.
Precisely. He isn't filling every waking second with labor. By being intensely focused during his work blocks and intentionally using a few micro moments for his personal goals, he actually frees up massive continuous blocks of time.
Time to actually breathe.
Yeah, that is the time he uses to exercise, to be entirely present with his family without checking his email, and to genuinely deeply rest.
The contrast is what matters.
Exactly. When he works, he works. But when he rests, he actually rests. He feels calm instead of rush because the underlying anxiety of unfinished work is just gone.
That is the ultimate payoff. It's not about doing more things. It's about doing the right things efficiently. So you have the freedom to do nothing at all.
Exactly.
And that really brings us to the culmination of Ryan's transformation. Several months down the line, his life is unrecognizable from that chaotic morning spiral we started with.
It's a night and day difference.
His English is vastly improved, he's physically active, he is reading books, and he is actually present with his family. The stress that used to define his life is largely gone.
And when his coworker Sophia asks him what the secret was, his realization is the core thesis of this entire deep dive.
Yeah.
He didn't need more time. He just needed a plan.
We treat time like it's this infinite resource right up until the moment we realize it isn't.
So true.
The shift happens when you stop viewing your day as a vessel to fill with busyness and start viewing it as a limited resource to allocate toward your actual priorities.
That's the mindset shift right there.
So for you listening right now, let's crystallize the principles you can actually use tomorrow. First, dictate your terms. Plan your tomorrow today by picking just 3 critical tasks.
Just 3.
Second, protect your cognitive energy. Eat the frog by focusing on those priorities first thing in the morning before the world can interrupt you.
Yes.
Third, eliminate the switching tax. Focus on one single task at a time and push through that initial dopamine withdrawal.
It's hard, but worth it.
Fourth, rely on systems, not feelings. Build small, atomic daily habits so progress happens automatically. And finally, be intentional with the margins.
Use those micro moments.
Exactly. Use your 10-minute free moments wisely so you can buy back your time for genuine rest. You do not need an extra hour in the day. You just need to wield the hours you already have with absolute purpose.
And as we wrap up this analysis, there's a deeper implication to Ryan's journey that I want to leave you with.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we spent a lot of time discussing how silencing notifications and deeply focusing speeds up our practical tasks, right?
Yeah.
It makes us more efficient workers and learners.
Yeah.
But what happens to the actual quality of our minds when we stop letting notifications constantly interrupt our thoughts?
Wow. Yeah.
If we are perpetually consuming other people's urgent messages, algorithms, and random updates, I mean, what original ideas of our own might finally have the quiet space to surface?
That is a profound question to walk away with. If you never step off that treadmill of constant reaction, you never get to see what your mind is capable of creating in the quiet.
Exactly.
It is time to step off the treadmill, turn off the notifications, and take your mind back. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we will catch you next time.